Well, recently I heard a quote by Dr. Shade Sarai, and the quote says this: "You will never rise above your opinion of yourself." Maybe crisscross applesauce. This is really how I sit everywhere I go. And I heard that and I thought, that is one of the realest things and really speaks to where I'm at in my life right now and how I got here. I'm Laurie Graham, and I am the founder of Boss Babe Creative and Visuals.
Before people knew you as a branding and social media authority, who were you trying to become?
Oh man, before I became known for branding and social media, honestly, I feel like I was trying to be everyone's hype girl. And it's very important, but a lot of times when you're everyone else's hype girl, you kind of lose a sense of who you are.
Was there a moment when you realized you weren't meant to play small anymore? What happened?
You know, the moment I realized I wasn't supposed to play small anymore was a very scary moment. I would say I was on the last leg of my corporate job, and I remember I kept facing these feelings of opposition, of not doing enough, not being who I truly was. I kept making myself smaller to make other people larger, and it was a very uncomfortable place to be, and it kind of felt like I wasn't being true to who I really was. But at that moment, I would just mask it with being everything to everybody else and thinking that I would find my purpose in helping other people find their purpose. And still, I would always feel not fulfilled. And I came to the realization that maybe, just maybe, God had a greater calling for me. And as much as I fought it, I knew it was in creating my own business.
What did you have to unlearn in order to step into leadership?
Starting your own business can be really, really scary. When you're a corporate girly and you work for somebody else, you have a million ideas about how leadership, how the person should run their business, all that fun stuff. But the moment you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, how are you going to show up as a leader? I had to spend the last year unlearning so many things. I took classes, I did therapy, I did intensive workshops so that I could actually start Boss Babe Creative with a fresh perspective on what leadership really means. And so some of the things that I had to unlearn about leadership would be, leadership is not hustling. Leadership is not waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning and being stressed out about your business. Leadership is not about controlling. It's about working with other people. It's about showing up for the people that you get to serve. It's about investing in yourself before you start investing in others. Leadership is relational before it's functional and before it's transactional. And I would say that that's one of the biggest lessons I learned before starting my business, is actually hearing that quote from a friend and adapting it, not just to my business, but to my life in general.
What are the pros and cons of working from home?
You think running a business out of your home would be easy peasy lemon squeezy, but let me tell you, some mornings are really rough. The staircase, coming downstairs to get that morning coffee, traffic can be an issue. And then the grumpy people in the morning, whew, it's rough coming down, making a fresh cup of coffee, sitting down, getting in your word and preparing for the day. It could be really tough. But all jokes aside, working from home, it actually can be lonely, because when you're in corporate, or when you're used to a commute, or you're used to being around a lot of people, It gets a little lonely, but also it's really freeing. And, sometimes the Amazon guy comes, I can talk to them. I see our neighbors walking their dogs. I talk to people, even if they're not listening. I just kind of wave to them as they walk by.
You've worked in real estate, branding, and social media for decades. What do most people underestimate about that experience?
One of the biggest things that I find people underestimate about the real estate, social media, home staging experience is that we, in general, are visual people, right? God gave us eyes to see, ears to hear, but I feel like there's so much missing visually in that market. And I feel like realtors miss the visual for the home stagers. And I feel like home stagers truly miss how to reach out to realtors and how to speak with realtors. And I feel like it all kind of has a moment of being visible, being seen, being visual. And I feel like so many times there's excuses as to why people are not merging those things together.
What does experience teach you that no course, trend, or algorithm ever could?
My experience, I fully believe that before I was in real estate, before I was in home staging, before I was coaching, before I was speaking, before all of that, like if you rewound me. When I think about me as a child, I was a dreamer. I would be outside, playing outside. I could just live outside. I love trees. I love grass. I love hills. Going into, middle school, I was in theater. I loved theater. And then high school, I've always loved fashion. I always loved visual type things. And I feel like one of my gifts, one of the things that God gave me is the ability to have vision, not just for all of the things that are in the world and the gifts and appreciating trees or biophilic design or anything like that, but even seeing visually things that people could do to better their business. And I feel like I've had that since I was a child, but there was a lot of distractions going around in my life as I grew up. And maybe in the last 10 years, I really honed in on it. And I remember recently sitting at a conference and somebody sitting on the stage and telling the people that I was with that how important it was to go viral. And I remember thinking in my very, very core, no, it was literally what I wanted to just run across things and say, no. So many times when we're trying to build our brand, try to get more business, we go and we look at what other people are doing, but they're not in our niche. So yes, going viral, having a viral video or a viral post is great, right? But really, is it great? Because what that does is that gives you a lot of people following you that are not your ideal client. And in my sphere, in my niche, the people I work with, they're really fighting tooth or nail to get the right clients to follow them. So if they're watching a trend or they see something that pops up and they want to duplicate it just so that they can get Insta famous, they're really hurting themselves. And that's why it pains me so deeply when people look to the get rich quick trainings or whatever, instead of really just digging deep into what they have to offer and tweaking and articulating the language that they're speaking visually and in their copy to the ideal clients that they want. So yeah, you can sign up for a class that says, oh, do this for 30 days and you will become Insta famous. You will be an influencer. But is that where you really want to be in your business? And for the people that I work with, home stagers, no. That's just going to attract a lot of people that aren't going to use your services.
After working with hundreds of business owners, What patterns separate those who grow from those who stay stuck?
Such a great question and such a hard question. What truly separates small, like home staging business owners from staying stuck to growth, well, at the foundation of it is excuses. I want this, but I'm not willing to do this. I want that, but I don't have the money. I don't have this. Those are all excuses. That's the story you're telling yourself, but it's not the facts. So the businesses who really break it down, okay, I need this. I'm in a position in my business where I'm exhausted and I need to bring somebody on, but I don't have the money. So then you have to go back. That might be a fact. You might not actually have the money to bring somebody on. So what you need to do next is figure out the how. How do I get more money? Where can I cut back? How much more productivity and money would hiring a person that I'm investing in bring to my company? And I feel like home staging businesses, when they're in that weird tug of war with their story and the fact, that's where they stay stuck. So once you realize this is the story you're telling yourself and it's not actually the fact, and once you swallow your pride a little bit and say, okay, now how can I get to this? That's where their growth is going to happen.
What mistakes do you see people make online that cost them time, money, or credibility?
Some of the biggest mistakes I see home stagers or realtors make online that cost them the most is inconsistency. So they're showing up all the time and then nothing, and then showing up, then nothing, right? Whether it really doesn't matter what business you run, it's the consistency. So if you cannot show up consistently, then you need to find someone who can either hold you accountable or hire somebody that can make you be seen consistently. And here's why. Social media moves really fast. Our attention span to things is so small. So if you're not showing up at least 3 times a week in a feed, people are forgetting about you. If you're not showing up daily on stories, whether it's just something really quick, hey, this is what we have going on today, or look at this quick peek into this property walkthrough, whatever that looks like, they're not going to have you top of mind. And I feel like that's where so many business owners become so overwhelmed. They are in charge of so much stuff that they just don't show up.
What does a messy, disorganized grid do to your soul?
Oh man, it makes me want to curl up in a little ball and just cry. Okay, so that is my pet peeve. So disjointed equals disengaging. And so let's just very realistic. You go on, maybe someone gives you free templates and you make your grid all nice and pretty, and then you post something that's on trend. Maybe your home staging business, your colors are tan, cream, and gray. And all of a sudden there's some template that somebody on your team or you pulls in and it's bright yellow, orange, and blue, and you post something that has nothing to do with your brand. That's messy, that's disjointed. That causes somebody to be like, like tire screeches. Like if we could put in right here in the video, that's exactly what they're going to think when they look at that. And so whenever I see people have a messy grid, but then they complain about not getting jobs in, everything is visual. They're going to look at your stuff and then decide whether or not they're going to work with you. It's your perceived value. So I could talk about this all day about the importance of that, but it literally just a little piece of me dies inside.
Why do you believe consistency matters more than talent?
Oh yeah. Okay. Consistency is always going to trump your talent. I'm sure you've heard the quote, like, fake it till you make it. And although that might not be exactly like ethically right, being consistent and showing up consistently, even if you're not to the level where you want to be, is better than not being consistent at all. Think about this as like a relationship, right? Imagine you were dating somebody, but you just showed up whenever. You didn't call on a regular basis. You didn't call them back. You didn't go out on dates. Imagine where that relationship would go. It wouldn't happen. And like I said before, everything is relational before it's functional. So even if you're not staging the houses or the level of houses you want to stage yet, you still can show what you can do consistently, that you know about staging and the effects that it has on the real estate industry consistently. You can post consistently. Even if you don't have the best imagery, you can post consistently. So consistency is always going to trump everything else. Just show up, be there, be you, be authentic, and your company will grow way faster than if you didn't do that.
You've said strategy should simplify life, not complicate it. What do you mean by that?
I'm really big on strategy. Now, mind you, when I was in the corporate world and it came time for strategy meetings, I would always kind of be like, oh, here we go again, because it took up so much of my mind, my brain cells, thinking through everything. But in hindsight, it is so important to do strategy. So strategy is literally like your roadmap to what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and where you're going. And if you don't have the strategy for that, so if you're a home staging business owner and you haven't done strategy with your team, or you don't even doing strategy with yourself, it literally is just telling you your metrics for the time that's coming ahead of you. So whether it's the beginning of the year or the middle of the year, or doing it multiple times, but strategy even goes into building a strong brand. It tells you what you are going to do and what you're not going to do. Does this fit within my brand strategy? Does it not? When you're doing business with your clients, is this your ideal client? Is it not? And so strategy is so important to literally take the time out to figure out the things that you're doing, because otherwise you're just like wandering in a forest, not having any direction or knowing what you're looking for. And then you just end up getting bitter and frustrated, and you lose business and you lose money, and then you want to quit. So strategy wins with me every time. Every single part of your business should have its own separate strategy.
Why is doing more often the wrong answer for business owners?
Doing more is not always the answer. Believe you me, I cannot tell you the amount of home staging business owners, realtors, entrepreneurs, just my friends even that are entrepreneurs, having to do more, thinking that mentality of just do more, just do more. It is going to wear you out. What a smart business owner would do is learn how to delegate so that they're doing less, so that they can use their brain to focus more on the things that are their strong suit. So even taking like 30 minutes a week, like one morning, 30 minutes, write out all the things that you as a business owner could actually offboard, something that you can easily train someone else to do that's a lower, like you can bring somebody in that's like a lower paying job that just frees up your time. Because as a business owner, you have so many thoughts going on in you're responsible, so many thoughts going on in your head. You're responsible for so much. You have to do so much. You're the face of the business. You're the leadership in the business. And so the more things that you can offboard and give yourself less to do, the more you can become the leader of the business that you were made to be.
What does a social media brain look like?
Is this over yet? That is the thought of a social media manager, is like, can I just be done yet? But seriously, as a business owner doing social media, if you're a business owner, you shouldn't be doing social media. Let's just be real. And I do my own social media, so I'm speaking to the choir here. As a business owner, I honestly think this is what a business owner thinks, ugh, I hate it. I don't want to do it. I don't have time for it. I could be doing more things. Like, ugh, does anybody care? Like, whatever. Somebody else needs to do this. I don't have time for this. What they don't understand is that there's not a standard operating procedure in place, that they're not training their team, that it's their responsibility, their job description to do it. Business owners should never be doing their own social unless it's just like, hey, I want to showcase my team, or hey, this is something fun. It should be a thought that's happy and not something that they just want to just crawl under a rock and hide.
You intentionally limit how many clients you work with. Why was that decision important?
We take a limited number of clients per year. Well, mainly for the same thing I repeat all the time. Everything is relational before it's functional or transactional. That's the basis of it. Throughout the years working in corporate, I would watch how at that time some clients would come in and we would work with them just for the money. But what I found is I feel most fulfilled when the client that I'm working with and our vision are aligned. And I feel purpose in helping them discover like the potential that they actually have.
What did burnout teach you about leadership and boundaries?
The amount of home staging businesses I have had relationship with over the last 7 years, the amount of burnout is so scary. And I was burnt out in corporate world, focusing on always trying to hype up these clients, these business owners who were burnt out. And so one of the biggest things is that there's this idea, okay, of hustle and one big life. Your work, your business, your family, your happiness is all just one big life. And my biggest lesson is that that is not true. There has to be boundaries for everything in your life. There has to be boundaries in your business, boundaries in friendship, boundaries in your family life. There has to be boundaries so that things can be balanced. If it's not balanced, then that's when burnout happens. And then usually there's more damage done in burnout than setting boundaries.
How has your definition of success changed over the years?
Man, when I was younger, I thought success was like rolling in a big old SUV with some rims, bumping some music. I thought it was all of the high-end luxury things, the name brand stuff. I mean, even up till 2 years ago, I had that perception. But success really boils down at the end of the day to how you feel you're utilizing the gifts, talents, and purpose. You can have all the money in the world, which would be great and wonderful. Money solves a lot of problems, right? But if you're just here to check boxes, if that's what you think success is checking a box, oh, I hit this dollar amount, I worked with this person, you're gonna fall short and you're not going to be successful. And at the end of the day, you're just gonna be filled with regret. So to me, success is making sure that everything I do is from within my heart and that is aligned with who I am and what I'm here to do. And if anything ever feels to me like I'm just doing it to make a dollar amount, or like for a great example would be like, I don't want to do this stage, but I'm gonna do it because I'm needing money. More than likely, there's a reason you don't want to do that stage, and you should trust yourself and your process on that, versus just doing something for money or for an accolade. So success to me really is an inside thing now versus what I can show people on the outside.
What responsibility do you feel when someone trusts you with their brand?
Man, just thinking about somebody trusting me with their brand makes me super excited. It's the same responsibility that, well, obviously not the same responsibility as if your own child, but there is such a big responsibility when somebody trusts me with their brand. But before we even get to that point, I really only want to work with people that I have a really clear vision for their brand. Like, I get them, I get their personality, I get all of that. And it makes me very excited to work with them. And then when I get to work with them, I treat it just like it's my own little brand baby. And so the responsibility is so important to me that, I get to nurture this and watch your brand grow.
What kind of leader do you strive to be for your clients and industry?
When I have the privilege of working with a client, I always believe that there's so much we can learn from each other. And the type of leader I like to be with my clients, it's more than just a hype girl. It's because of the depth and knowledge that I carry coaching and training home staging business owners over 7 years. I really do feel the pain and the frustration. And I want to be someone who is actually a sense of relief for my client, that can guide and hold their hand to get them to that next step in their business. I really feel like every leader should always have this posture of, one, getting lifted up themselves, and two, that they have a hand free to lift someone else up. And I love being in that posture with my clients and knowing that true leadership is relational before it's transactional or functional.
What do you want to be known for?
At the end of the day, I want to be known for helping business owners build a business that they love, like literally in whatever way that is. It's as simple as that. Laurie, Boss Babe Creative and Visuals, helped me to build a business that I actually love. That's all I want to be known for.
How do you want people to feel after working with you?
One of the greatest things that I could hear from a client, that the way I made them feel or what I actually have done for them, is give them back time. Time in their day, time with their family, time doing something that they love, time doing something that's very important to the business, because time's not promised. Every day is not promised. And so when I can take a portion of their business baby and I can run and manage that for them, and that allows them to just take a deep breath and know that every single day or every single week, there's a certain amount of posts. They don't have to use their brain space. They don't have to think creatively about what they're gonna post, how they're gonna post it. Giving somebody back time, back in their life, is priceless. And that's what I aim to do, and that's what I love hearing from my clients.
What does the next chapter look like for you?
The next chapter is intentional, and it is abundant. And I say that because we've invested in equipment, and we've invested in education and learning and all of this fun stuff, but it's expansion. And I'm so excited for this next chapter of Boss Babe Creative and Visuals, because it includes strategy and coaching and visuals. We're working with more businesses on doing things like this, telling their story, commercials, property walkthroughs in real estate, more real estate photography, more design photography. We're really just expanding the visual brand of what Boss Babe Creative can offer a small business owner, a real estate agent, entrepreneurs. We've really sat and thought strategically on how we can best serve the people that are around us and our ideal clients, and that's visually, whether it's photography, videography, or socials. That's where we're going in our next chapter, and I hope that you will be there with us.
What excites you most about where you're headed?
And I'm most excited about, well, number one, not giving up, being a newer business, but the amount of people that I get to help. And if I'm being selfish, I'm really excited about working more with my husband. He's such a great talent, and he's literally the brains behind the business. and he knows how to do all the cool technical stuff that I don't know how to do. And so that's pretty exciting to me.